So we know that people can be at a very high level of unconsciousness as they're moving around, seemingly conscious.
Conscious, right?
But it would be difficult to tell the person that's sleepwalking that they're sleepwalking. This is a weird world.
Yeah, and I wrapped myself in a blanket and I welcomed that shit into my soul. I opened up the door and I said, "Come in and take me." And then I just
So
a butterfly. So, but I understand.
People do the funniest things when they believe they're not being watched.
Yeah, you've shown me a few of those.
It's just fun. All of us, we all behave a little differently. Hold on a second. Swing this around there. Yeah. I mean, imagine that a character from The Boys, he was the invisible guy, translucent.
Yeah, translucent.
But he said some deep shit though, because he was like, my favorite power isn't being invisible. My favorite power is like being able to see people when they don't think that they're being seen. Just imagine seeing people. Think about yourself when no one's around. Like think about who you're willing to be, like the chances you're willing to take, like just all the stupid little things that you'll do alone.
When we're by ourselves at the house, we definitely behave very differently.
No, but not even just you. Not even forget about me.
Yeah, I guess
just you alone. You're gonna do and say some stupid things. You don't dance around and just like say stupid. You never just like say stupid.
For sure, I'm sure that I do.
You never just like you never just say. You never. What do? You do something.
I definitely have had dance parties by myself.
Dance party.
Yeah, I'm not making random noises walking around.
But you do dances you would never do in front of other people.
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's what I mean.
Sure.
So it's the same thing as doodly-doo. It's the same thing as people will do things alone that they'll never do in front of a group of people.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, so getting to see that is very interesting. I mean, again, it only ever happens during bathroom breaks here, and filming is still recording. But it's just funny seeing those small little things where people don't feel like they're being seen.
It is funny to have, like you say, those small little things that you just they naturally come to you when you're by yourself. I definitely have caught myself either getting ready for work when you're not here or just cleaning the house when you're somewhere else and just jamming out.
There's a very interesting split screen experience that a human being can be. And I think if you haven't seen it, but if you watch a movie like Castaway with Tom Hanks, okay, but there are certain movies that just show you who we are alone and who we are in mass, and those are two different people. So when asking yourself who am I, or what makes a person, it's interesting getting to see the two very extremes. So when you hang around a bunch of people, you slowly start to intake some of what it is they do.
For sure.
And it shows up in some of the things that you do. But it would be interesting to know who you would be if no one was around for an extended period of time.
I think you'd be a very weird person.
Well, we have an example Will Smith from I Am Legend.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He was a seemingly normal guy, but then got a little you could see where
things were changing,
where the thread was coming unloose in certain scenes, when he's shooting Fred in the mannequin that he's developed a relationship with throughout his time. So it's a mannequin he's developed a relationship with. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it gets
we need each other to balance out our weirdness.
Yeah, balance out our weirdness. That's a way to put it.
Yeah, that's why, this guy at my job, that I don't know how this man in his late 30s, early 40s has just made it this far as a human being in general, in any capacity, in any way, shape, or form. His social skills are just, they're so bad. It's he hasn't been around a lot of people for a long time. It's like he came out of a cave, and that was kind of the jokes amongst myself and my coworkers is like, yo, what planet they drop off this guy from? Like, who dropped him off and from where? Because he's so different than everyone else. You know, everyone's got their own little quirky weirdness.
What's he up to again? Why is he so differently weird?
He got fired day 4.
Oh, right.
He didn't last a full week. So he was making inappropriate comments towards the girls.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Asking, like, is your sister hot? Is your sister hot? And she's like,
did he ask that 2 different times to 2 different people? Like, what?
I don't know.
I'm just saying you just repeated it like you almost heard it twice or heard that it had been done twice.
It may have had, but he was also calling guests faggots to his co-workers.
Oh, right.
Like, he just, and don't get me wrong.
We have week 1 of working. So
day 1 of serving on your own.
Yeah.
It's your first day taking tables by your own, and you're literally saying the word faggot to your co-workers. Like, that's, you don't know anyone here.
I don't know the fervor in which he said that word, but what I will say is that.
You don't say it. Not
sure. You. That too, but some people do in this world still.
For sure.
So what I will say is, if you're still going to be someone that decides to take these chances, right, making jokes, because jokes you're going to take chances.
I think it was a joke.
The thing is, right, because I was going to say I wasn't there to experience his fervor, his level of intensity when he said the word. But like, if it was mostly the way that you hear people use that word, I think that you just can't move fast, right? So here's the thing. So I got into my job, and then
what?
Some people started diagnosing me, right? Like,
of course.
Right, it was just like you have trust issues. You have trust issues. A lot of that being because I wasn't just like readily. I'm sorry, I haven't podcasted in a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
So it means I haven't been talking at all, so I don't know how to use words. I wasn't readily accessible to people, but I'm usually, like, when I go into a new space, not usually readily accessible to everyone, because there is something in me natural that makes me want to observe and survey the field in which I am, get to know who people are, get to know the social fabric, because I'm so crazy that so much is normal to me. I talk to so many different people about so many different weird fucking things in their life that normal to me has been stretched quite a bit, right? So I have to figure out, like, what type of Earl are we about to present right now? Okay. Because you're in a new particular social fabric, and you want to be able to be yourself in it, for sure, but you also need to be smart.
Yeah.
And you need to know what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. Like, what is the energy like in this space, right? So people call that trust issues.
That's good.
But then the other extreme of that is, if you don't take your time with getting to know people and allowing people to get to know you step by step, right? Week after week as you go to work or wherever the fuck it is you're at, hypothetically speaking, and you're on the other extreme, then you're this fucking guy, and people like him that go into places and we all know these people. We've been around these people.
They're very rare,
right? Where, like, yeah, they're rare, but they're enough out there where we all know them.
For sure.
Right? Where they show up and they are comfortable.
Immediately.
They make crude jokes. They make fun of people directly to them, like they're on a level that they haven't quite worked.
That usually takes months.
Yeah, like you haven't
to build
worked
with the person.
You haven't worked to that level yet with that person. Like, you don't know how that person takes things. Like, you don't. Like, you have no infrastructure. Like, where you have no basic building. Like, niggas just be jumping out there.
It makes me. I'm so fascinated because I wish I could have gotten to know where he came from.
You mean like geographically?
Everything.
Yeah.
Who raised him? Where was he raised? How was he raised? Like, where did he go to school? How was he perceived by his... Because there's no way that this guy doesn't stand out like a sore thumb in every existence of his life, Earl. He is unlike anyone that you know. He's like the worst person to have around at all moments in time.
Well, that's... I mean... Okay. So... All right, so this is kind of like a weird thing, but it's a good reference point because you and I watched it together. Okay. So you and I watched The Crowded Room,
yes,
right? Which was Tom Holland, and it was about like the first person in the U.S. that was able to in public legislation
put that thing the insanity plea. Is that correct?
Be able to have the insanity
because
plea
of his disorder, which we should
multiple.
Name.
Well, I guess it's fine.
Multiple dissociative identity disorder is a new name, I believe.
Okay.
But back then, multiple personality disorder.
You want to say that again?
Multiple. Damn it! I wish. Let me start again. Dissociative identity disorder and multiple personality disorder. Scratch that, Mikey.
But the point of it, don't scratch it. But the point is that like we're watching this person and the depth in which they were able to go into this person's mind and like present, like express that to the viewer. I'm looking at it and I would think other people have too. By the way, Kanye has kind of alluded to this before, but that it's kind of like a superpower. It's only for the fact that you live in the system that we've built on this planet that it's not.
But what is a superpower?
Having that disorder. Like there are things about yourself that you can tap into that other people will never.
I understand that.
Like being able to go in and come out as a different character that can speak a different language or that literally knows information that what you call yourself doesn't know. Like doesn't know. Like you could go in, come out as one of these other personalities and know how to do physics. You could go back in.
Well, I don't think it's like that.
But that's how they express it. It's like there are parts of your brain that there are things in your subconscious that you're just not aware of. And if you could access those things, which is mostly what we're working off of, not this stupid conscious mind that we think is super intellectual and super us. It's this thing beneath that. It's the glacier underneath the water, right? The subconscious mind that's reworking all these ideas and problems and working when we're not. When we're just going to sleep at night. Yeah. Or when we're just like looking up at the clouds as we're driving down the road. Like your subconscious mind is still, stirring and all these ideas and stuff are festering and working. He, in that show, just for us to be on the same page, she was asking him about like certain authors to which he was just like, I don't know that. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. But if you talk to him in another time, he's like, I've read all of that author's work. Right. And he also knew he had a different accent. He was an Englishman in one, and he couldn't have done that in another. Like you turn into different people.
He was a businessman Englishman.
You have completely different think a personality is a large thing. Yeah. To a lot of people, that's pretty much damn near a human. Right? It
definitely is.
Which is why there was a guy in that show that was dating one of his personalities. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like it was a different person. So
that was a great show.
So in some light, it's like a fucking superpower. Yeah. It just doesn't work out well for you
when you're not in control.
In the world that we've built, the way that things go, our understandings of things, it just doesn't work well in this time right now. But there could very well be a time where it did work better or it would work better in the future, depending upon the circumstances of the fucking zeitgeist. I don't know. But it's fucking crazy. It's like just crazy to think about that. So, I forgot the point I was getting to with all this.
I was talking about my coworker that just had no social acumen, 20 degrees.
Oh yeah. So I say that he could very well be in circles because he's not just going everywhere on the planet. There are a lot of places on this earth. There are a lot of different little cuts of people that listen to this music or that music or like this drug or that drug or believe in this fucking counterculture type of, tinfoil hat conspiracy theory thing. And then these people there's just a lot of different things. He probably has been around some people that act up and do wild shit. He's just not been around pristine, straightforward, narrow.
There's some truth to that, but when you work in a restaurant where any given day you are surrounded by like 30 coworkers on like a light day, really, and everyone's looking around like, "Yo, have you seen this new hire? Like, what is going on?"
That is rough. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not
a rough existence.
It's not like a personal thing that I disliked.
Yeah.
It's a
general consensus.
It was crazy. It was a phenomenon. It was the only thing anyone could ever speak about for like 2 days. And then when I came back, I was literally flooded with people waiting to be the first ones to tell me that this guy got fired.
Yeah.
Like they just couldn't wait to tell me because I called it from the beginning. I'm like, "Yo, how? Like, how did you get it past the interview?" Like that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But I think I agree with a lot of what you said, but I think some people are just they stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And what do they call it?
Regardless.
They're built different. Yeah. They come from somewhere else. They really do, because I couldn't. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like to be in a space where you are making fun of customers to your coworkers on your first day of officially working there on your own, and then the making fun is calling them faggots.
Yeah.
Like what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And you're like 35 to 40.
Yeah.
A
lot of people
that's a different type of breed.
So I told you I've thought a whole lot about now, because we're 4 years in, going into 5 years. So it's easier now to look back on how you feel like COVID may have affected you, or being quarantined for so long. I think we can look back and have some sort of perspective on that now.
It's been a minute.
And not just the good ways, but the bad way, just all the ways that it altered you. And people are definitely like concerned about those small children that were in there, because I believe somewhere between the ages of 2 and 5, you're really, really trying to get a grasp on facial expressions.
Formative years.
Yeah, very, very formative years. And just understanding
emotional development, yeah.
Body language, paralanguage, all that tone, all those small itty bitty bits of language that are nonverbal. It's just it was weird. Yeah, it's just very weird, because then you just think like, what the fuck is that going to be like? Like, you know what I mean? Like a whole like sort of generation where there were just a lot of babies, just like a lot of small children that just were not looking at other humans and having that sort of proper interaction with them that forms.
I don't think this is that much different though than what we have seen for maybe the past decade, 7 years, maybe longer, who knows, because a lot of these kids before the pandemic grew up on an iPad. They're called iPad babies. When you spend, like, you're not paying attention to other things outside the iPad when you're a child.
It's a difference, because you are looking at this device and maybe you feel like they're not paying attention or looking up as much as you would like them to, or people have in the past, whatever the case is. And then you try to draw a conclusion as to whether people growing up differently in a technological age is worse than than their forefathers or whatever. And like you get into that conversation. But we're just talking about people that were looking at people that had masks on. Like just people just had masks on and they weren't going anywhere. Like that's a very different level of social distancing and just being on the iPad. That's a little different. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah, just in general, just human connection just getting weirder and weirder. I get that. Yeah, I saw like a Joe Budden clip this morning of. Did you ever listen to Eric Bellinger?
Yes, I loved Alec Bellinger.
Who?
Eric Bellinger.
Eric. Yeah.
What did I say?
Alec. It's all good.
Eric Alec.
Whatever. Eric Bellinger. So I didn't listen to much of him, but I did understand that he was like cool, groovy.
He almost had it. He was like he was a few steps. He wasn't right behind Trey Songz, but he was a few steps behind, and he really had the groove. He's handsome. He has a voice, but he can never break through. Like, he had a few hit songs, but most people don't know about Eric Bellinger.
Yeah.
He has a song based on his name about him being the coolest guy in the world.
Okay. Is it good? You like it?
It has a fun little tune, but it's him just saying like he's the shit because I'm Eric Bellinger.
Oh.
It sounds better.
Okay. I hope it sounds better than that.
But it still sounds goofy because you're just repeating your name, but it's a good song.
Okay. Well, I just heard that he had signed with some company. Oh, really? Signed it's like a contract with some company that allows for him to give away verses, right, for money. The artist would clearly have to pay for a feature of his, but that it is an AI version of him. Right. So if you want a song by Eric Bellinger, like he can give you a verse or whatever, you can crank out this AI verse. I give it to you, and that's my likeness, and I'm selling that to you. Like, you can have that. So. Oh wow. Yeah. This is different. And so I'm assuming that this is probably going to be the way that things start going.
That would make sense.
People can probably just start, selling. Sell their likeness. Yeah, they can do their own stuff and still sell stuff. But if they don't want to, just be like, yo, sell them one of my sell them one of my $5,000 AI verses. Mm-hmm. Oh, he got money. Sell him one of my $20,000 AI verses. You know what I mean?
And if you want my real voice,
and then if you want me to come in there and do it. Yeah, boom. Yeah, then you can pay. Then you can pay for me to come do it.
Damn. I didn't know that. This was on Joe Rogan?
No, this was Joe Budden.
Oh, Joe Budden. Okay, that makes more sense. Wrong Joe. Sometimes I mix him up.
Was not talking
I was like, he's talking about Eric Bellinger? Really? Like, Eric is like that right now? Like, it's been like 10 years since I heard one of his songs.
No.
That's funny.
So yeah, so that's something. Well, and I forgot why I brought that up, but it most certainly.
I'm usually really good about bringing it back, but
yeah, I don't know. It had something to do with something. If the people are listening, it'll make sense. But
sure.
Yeah. So I mean, that's
interesting.
Yeah, that's just a very wild thing that he's got.
And
going
I'm not gonna lie to you. I find it peculiar that people are looking for his verses. The fact that he could even stumble across this deal is quite funny to me, because who is not that he's not talented, it's just that his name is not like that.
Well, I mean, I didn't say that this was a $50 million deal. I don't know.
But still is a deal, like you still people still want you to participate in this. That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what sort of what his demographics like or how large he is necessarily.
It's just there's so many more famous
I haven't been listening to any music. I'm the most disconnected from music I've ever been in my entire life. My whole life I've listened to music.
Yeah.
Do you remember Dat Piff?
Yes, I remember Dat Piff.
The LimeWire?
I would spend hours and hours burning CDs of my life, Earl. So many hours were spent burning CDs. Do you know how many CDs I had? So many.
Oh, download stuff all day long.
Many.
You would just download stuff and just you would just come back to it later in the day. Just like,
oh yeah, you couldn't just wait for it.
You just still have stuff that you just boom, 50 songs downloaded, whatever the fuck it was.
But you know how great it felt to get in the car and you had just burned a few CDs and you could just switch through them? Because before you didn't have Apple Music on your phone to just pull up like that.
Do you know how cool it is when your best friend makes music?
Oh.
You all record it in your basement. That would be my basement, right? So this is what a Friday night looked like for me and my friends in high school a lot of time. Like, we would leave high school, we would do whatever the fuck it is we do for a few hours. People would find their way at my house. We'd go downstairs, we'd load up the equipment.
Crazy.
My friend would get in the booth, which was my closet with a slide open door, and we had a little microphone in there and shit like that, and we would slide the door closed. And we'd start the beat on whatever fuck we were recording on at the time. And he would start rapping. We'd record songs. And then usually we go to a basketball game or a football game, or we go to a party or something like that after we were done recording. And then when we did that enough weeks in a row, we had a mixtape. And in the senior year, my friend dropped 3 mixtapes. Okay. And they were probably like 20 tracks.
20
each.
tracks.
That's right. I would have an interlude on each one of them, just doing something stupid. And we would burn like 100, 120 of these.
That's a lot.
And we'd sell them for like $5 or $10 a pop. Wow. I forgot what we were selling. It was like $5 or $10. And we would sell every single one of them. And then to not only be a part of that process, but then getting in cars with your friends and driving around the city.
I can only imagine.
And playing the music that you all have been recording and selling to your schoolmates. Bro.
The best.
Bro, it was so much fun.
That's awesome.
We were having so much fun in high school. It was a blast. It was a blast. We had such a good time.
You know, this is silly, but this is the nerd in me, which I guess I don't get into with as much, but I loved finding music online to download.
Well, like going to stuff like that.
I would write notebooks of songs that I knew I wanted to download, and then I sit down one day and just like spend like 5 hours. Just because sometimes you would download a song and then you'd listen to it and then you realize it was like some shitty version of the song. So then you had to go somewhere.
For sure,
and DatPiff was pretty cool about it. But there were certain times, LimeWire didn't end up being for me. I used a lot of DatPiff and just some other websites I don't remember. But there were definitely some songs.
I wasn't so old that I was using Napster, which was the very first thing.
I didn't use Napster. That wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It was. If I saw the names, I could blurt them out now. But DatPiff is definitely one of them.
Yeah, man.
For sure. Yeah, they were just...
Because when Lil Wayne started dropping mixtape after mixtape after mixtape after mixtape after
what was the name of that?
Which one? The Drought series? Or was it the No Ceilings?
No Ceilings.
No Ceilings.
And there was another one. There was another one. It was No Ceilings for sure. But there was another Lil Wayne series that I really loved. I forgot what
it was. A series?
I thought or maybe it was a mixtape just on its own.
I don't know. There was so many that dropped at a point. It was just like, there was just so many. He was going so hard.
Lil Wayne is such a gem. He's such a gem. I was shuffling songs a few weeks ago through my Apple Music, which I have to delete because there's so many songs I don't listen to there. But one of his, I think it was the Carter 5, which was the last Lil Wayne project that I probably laid my hands on. And it was the song Mess on there, which is very different than regular Lil Wayne. And I think he just has quite the range for a rapper. He has done a lot of different things, and that's why I really like him and T-Pain. I appreciate them both for that matter. I think they're so multifaceted and very underappreciated sometimes.
Regardless of... The thing is, I love these little terms that come around. People call them buzzwords, right? These words that come around in our paradigm and are very big for whatever reason. But I believe like audience capture is one of those things amongst content creators. And this is the phenomena that takes place when you garner a fan base. And they kind of, a large part of that fan base sees you as this type of thing, but you're not that type of thing. Yeah. You've just exhibited that thing various times.
Or they came across
but you're much more than that. But they try to like pigeonhole you into this thing. Like they want to see or hear more of that. And so some people just fall into that and just do what their now newly, discovered fan base wants them to do and believes that they are. So they just do that thing. But for all the artists out there that are able to just continue to be them and create spontaneously and naturally with how they feel in every moment, every month, every year, every season that passes, that's like, if I grow away from what it is you're doing, that's totally fine. But it's awesome that you're following your funky little path and you're losing all the fans that wanted you to just keep doing this thing. That's why I respect John Mayer and Kanye to like this level, at least in that regard.
In that artistic
I respect both of those men because I've seen John Mayer do so many different sounds, so many different types of albums, like just your average poppy teen stuff to deep blues, not that
like
poppy
that.
blues, deep blues stuff. Some rock, some like kind of rock stuff thrown in there. The little acoustic ballads.
Those are so important.
The like Farmer on a Ranch, John Mayer that came out. Like there's so many different things that he does. The soft rock album he came. It's just like it's a ton of shit. And Kanye's done the same thing. You can kind of always tell when he puts out music. This is roughly what Kanye's on right now. Like he's not lying to you. You know that. Like he's not lying. It's just like this is what he likes right now. This is what he's doing. And so that's always fun. Because you do just grow away from stuff. Like there's so much stuff that I can't listen to today.
For sure.
Like
for sure.
Like there's just so much stuff that I would have listened to in the past that I simply can't listen to. Like I brought up to you that fucking Eminem album that came up.
Wow.
That Eminem album could be the same album. If it was that album and I was 13 years old, it'd be fucking awesome. If I was 13 years old and the album that came out this year from Eminem came out, then I would have loved that shit.
You were going crazy.
Yeah, I think it's high grade. I just don't think it's high grade for me.
For sure.
It's just not.
For sure.
That is not for 32-year-old Earl.
It's different sometimes.
You know, and that's why I like you guys that loved like a J. Cole growing up. You got to listen to him when you were young and running around. So the stuff that he was talking about was like cool then. But for me, that got onto him at a certain point. You know, it's just like Forest Hills Drives and
that's way old. Way old.
Forest Hills Drive and later.
And that was 2014. It's called 2014 Forest Hills Drives, but it came out in 2014.
Right. So from then on, right, exactly. So what I'm saying is, and that's not even as deep as one of me.
Not.
No, I like the one that came after. I like
For Your Eyes Only.
I like For Your Eyes Only, and the one that came after that you and I both like. The fall, no, not the fall. The fall is coming up.
Off season.
Like both of those are great to me. But that's when he has matured to a space where he's now talking about certain things that like resonate with what I'm thinking about certain things. But when you're like, J. Cole, and then I go put that shit on, I'm like, man, get this little nigga the fuck up out of here, bro. Nobody want to hear this nigga talk this shit. Like, no.
But back then, that was the shit.
Of course.
That was the shit.
Of course. So that's why it just all comes down. All this is subjective. Nobody, like, everyone's taste is like, sure, you can listen to music a little bit harder for certain instruments and you're into it for that and all. But at the end of the day, it's all subjective. You're just going to like what you kind of like. And nobody knows exactly why the fuck that's even the case. That's what I went to work and talk to them about. And I think I've been talking to you a little bit about. It's like the amount of chill that one can get in life from understanding that they don't know nearly as much shit as they think they do.
Yeah.
It'll really just like chill you out.
Well, it humbles you. It breaks you down. It humbles you. It's like, oh, wow.
It'll really chill you out. Like when you realize with that submerge of the glacier, right?
Yeah.
That so much of what you're doing and what you think and the decisions that you think that you're so diabolically coming up with in your minds, methodically engineering, is like a lot of the work of your subconscious mind, right? And that you don't know so many reasons as to the reasons as to why you do things, which is where the word confabulation comes up, where you're filling gaps of memory that you clearly do not have with ideas that you're going to now believe this is what happened at that point. Because it would people feel like it would unravel them, psychologically speaking, if you realized that a lot of the things you were doing weren't necessarily your decision.
Yeah.
Like there's just a lot of lights and cameras and action and shit going on in your mind and things happen. Like, we don't know why we like certain people more than others, just like off the rip. Like, you can like look at a person and be like, I think I like them more than the person they're standing next to. I don't know either of these two people, but I feel that way. And you also will assume that it's on a firm basis, that it makes sense
Because it feels strongly.
Yeah, because you're like, well, and if someone asks you, well, why do you think that's the case? Why do you like this person standing to the right than the person standing to the left? Both of which you do not know. You will look at it and you will come up with reasons. Sure. You will say, this is a confabulation port where you're inserting some piece of memory or logic into a space where it's just not there. You just don't know it. But you would seem crazy to yourself if you just admitted to yourself, I actually don't know why. Right? You just start saying shit like, it's the way, I'm just, you become a profiler. You think you on fucking, was that show?
Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds. Yeah, like you think that you, like, oh, it's the way that they stand and they lean a little bit to the left, but the way they tilt their head is just like, it really says to me that they're an honorable person and just like they're trustworthy. It's right. Like, hold on a second, nigga. Like, you're not like that. Like, you're not like that.
You're not from
and you know what?
Quantico.
And you know what? None of us are. None of us are really like that. And I know that we want to believe that we truly can, and maybe sometimes you're right about some of those intuitions, but your reasonings for them be wrong. No, and that's what I'm saying. So that is true. The intuition can speak to you, but then when you try to pair it with what your mind can express, you're like, nigga, that's probably not it. But you have to say words, and that's the only explanation you can come up with at the moment. But yeah, I think that so much of us is just seeing things and responding and expressing and drawing in and breathing out. Like, I just think that's
just a silly little joke and we get wrapped up in it.
Yeah, man. So
I got wrapped up in it all the time.
What do you mean?
Sometimes it just tries to reel me in the moment, and I just gotta fight to get out of it.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
We just get wrapped up in just taking in things and being a person, and your emotions are floating around, and you're trying to figure out what's the best response, if there's a response to be had. And next thing you know, you might bend yourself out of shape a little bit, and you gotta reel it back in.
Yeah, that's why I don't like I don't try to bash people for like who they like.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Oh, I'm not bashing you, but I'm judging you, and I think everyone should judge each other. Like, I think that's healthy.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think you should just judge people and look at them. Wow, look at their friends. They're a piece of shit. Yeah. I don't think that judging, but I definitely.
But you're making judgment calls
for sure. Yeah, I think. Oh wow, those are your friends. Interesting. They wouldn't be my friends, but I guess I get why they would be your friends. I don't think you're a worse person than me for it at all.
But I do take into account
it does matter to me that these are your friends. It means something for our relationship, which means there probably won't be none. No, but seriously, it doesn't mean I will hang out with you, but it's probably not going to be like that for us. We might not have a meaningful relationship because I would never have meaningful relationships with your friends. And if those are mainly the people that you surround yourself with, that says something about you, and the natural course will take its way. I'm not going to fight it if it makes sense, but chances are it won't.
Yeah, there's also something very cool in social interaction, which is being able to spot potential in people. That's very cool. It's like it's very cool to know that there is this mechanism that allows you to see through the veil, because the veil in the case that you're pointing out is a bunch of people hanging out. You're hanging out with them, meaning you're doing some of the same shit. Like you on some of the same fuck shit that they doing, whatever. But to be able to see through that veil and be like, you not really like them. You just playing like you with them.
We're just all here.
Yeah, exactly. And, and being able to, if you choose, because this could just be a whole lot more work than it is reward. But if you choose to be like, yo, let me hang out with you. Like, let me pull you the fuck up out of here. Because you could be doing other things. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Because it's like an athletic, what do you call those people? Scout. You're just scouting.
Or a model scout.
Just being able to go out and have the eye and know this person is talented. Like this person is just like in a space where it's just these circumstances that have there. And what's interesting is, funny enough, we were having this grooming conversation earlier today, but that is a lot of what people are doing in general. Like, so people, I mean, it looks a certain way. And I think in our society, it's clearly pretty frowned upon when there's especially an older guy that is grooming a younger girl for like a later point in her life where then he can, where he feels more comfortable than showing interest.
That one's difficult. That's very intricate and complex. And
it is because you could be in a situation where like your relationship with that person is very innocent and you've never crossed any lines and never done anything, but just in your mind, you've seen what you saw to be like a bright child, you know. And then you just happen to continue to be around them for whatever that set of circumstances is. And then later on, you have to now separate in your mind, like, I once knew them when they were a child, so therefore I cannot be attracted to them, which I feel like that's just something you just have to do. This is one of those moments in life where you just have to go another way. Regardless of what you think or what you feel,
just let that one go.
Regardless.
Just not them, please.
Regardless of the complexities of the conversation that the status quo human will not have right now, because we can have this conversation on a deep level you and I already have. So regardless of the level that most people are ready to have the discussion at and where you could take it, on this one, you're just not in that time. You should wait until year 3000, maybe.
Right, maybe we have figured something else out.
Maybe then we talk about it differently. But for now, you just need to go sit down.
Just go find someone.
And sometimes it's just like that. Yeah, just go somewhere else. Just go
get on a dating app or something.
Yeah, just go try to find someone else.
That one's hard because I don't know. Should I judge you? I don't know if I should. Yeah, I mean I do, but like to what degree? I don't know how I feel about it.
It's really the age one, because again, when it comes to dating, we're all grooming each other. We're all looking at the person, and you're not viewing them for just like, do they make you happy right now? That would be a terrible model for if you're going to make it in the long run. Yeah. If you're looking for the long run, if you're looking to just fuck somebody, that's a very different set of schematics. You got to worry about way less things. Yeah, very different criteria. But if you're looking, then you're also asking yourself, are they going to be looking good in the future? Mm-hmm. Like, are they going to be able to facilitate what I feel like I need? And like, are we going to be able to work together? Are they taking care of themselves? You're looking towards the future. You're grooming them to be a good mate to you for a long period of time. Yeah. And vice versa, right? Like, it's happening on both sides. Hopefully, and I think that's the main issue when it gets to the age thing, is because when you're dealing with a younger person, they're not necessarily looking at the grooming aspect the same way that the older person is.
Well, sometimes you don't know until like you're much older.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you don't even have the lens to even have these conversations and think about these things hard. We're talking about.
That one's hard.
Yeah, so you just find yourself kind of in a weird situation, which is kind of like the situation with schooling, like university. Like it is weird that very, very young children, again, same age, 18 years old, 17, 18, 19 years old, get into university and get sucked into these huge debts. And like by the time you're 22 years old and like your brain is starting to come together.
Right, for real.
Then you looking at
and you still have a few more years.
Yeah, right, exactly. When you really 25, 26, like, 27, looking back, you're like, oh, wow. Okay. I didn't have to do that. There are a lot of different ways to do life, but I did do that. And now I have to, pay the repercussions for that. And for some people it works out well and the repercussions aren't that bad. And for other people, they're paying back a lot of money for a long, long time.
We got really lucky. You're right.
Yeah, and you just have this fucking black cloud over your head just looming. And it's not even necessarily just like right over your head, because it's not like all these people just have a terrible, gloomy life. But that dark cloud is like a mile off, like all the time. It's just like everywhere you walk, you can look back and see that black cloud.
Well, because every month you have to pay something.
Yeah.
And it could be $100, but it probably is not. It's probably anywhere from like $2,000 to $1,000. Like, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, so taking advantage of the young is actually kind of the American way.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
It is. You think about it in our place of work. You know, whether it's just restaurants in general, just this company, but just promoting these young people, not for the benefit of the environment and the employees. It's because they need someone to fill the spot. And this is the person that's more susceptible to do it. Our friend that got offered the position for supervisor that had no fucking place being a supervisor. The girl that got promoted for a little bit until she quit way long ago, years and years ago. And I almost walked out that day because I'm like, yo, why do you have a 14-year-old running a breakfast restaurant right now? Why is she helping me but not?
That was so
I had to look at her and I was like, yo,
that was so wild that they made her the supervisor. She was very young. She was like 17 or something like that.
She was like hardly 18. I think she just had gotten to the point where she could serve because she turned 18.
Yeah, and being the supervisor of an establishment like that at a high level, that's
at a high level. She had your job years before you. She had your job years before you.
Nah, that's so,
and what you did there was crazy.
Sometimes people are desperate, but there's so many positions on this planet. We cannot assume that the people holding all those positions are people that are made for those positions.
And most of the time they're not.
You just can't. You can't. Think about all the leadership positions and roles that need to be established in anything, anywhere, right? Where there's a chain of command.
Yeah.
They can't all have leadership quality. They cannot all be of leadership quality, you know, but people gotta do it. It's just like people that have kids. Like everybody has kids. Sometimes you'd be like, shit. But they're a parent now. And you know, somebody's gotta raise some
sometimes they got 3.
And so they're raising those kids. And like that's just that's life. You know, that's the freedoms that we have here. And and
that's also questionable, right? You know?
Freedoms.
Yeah, because like, should you have the freedom to be, in my case, a 28-year-old woman with 4 to 5 children that you have 0 custody of because you can't raise them? I went to school with someone that fits that criteria. Like, is that fair? Who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
Yeah, it's tough. It's certainly tough. That's
pretty irresponsible.
It's like everything in this world is just like so nuanced and complex because when people talk about like the whole abortion thing,
it's hard.
Like for the people that don't want it, hard no on it. It's like, you know,
it's like I get where you're coming from.
Sometimes it's just like it's a morality issue that I don't know how to work through. But
you don't.
But sometimes the children's lives, like the lives of these humans that are going to come into the world, are like not that great.
Well, they won't be
a lot of the time, and sometimes people know that they have an intuition that their life has been sucking for them, and that if they have children, their lives are going to suck.
I think usually the people that want or are pro-life. If by usually, I mean more often than not, are religious people. And what stops the conversation is that you should have taken responsibility for your actions to not have been in this place in the first place. And you shouldn't have to make this decision. So it's really your fault for having, like, for now bringing a child into this horrible space.
Yeah. And
like, we're going to take away this opportunity from you because you should have known better than to even have been in this place to begin with.
Right. And so now you have to bear this responsibility, and this child has to live underneath.
Because I don't like that you did that. Really.
Well, I don't think it's just that I don't like. There is a strong sense of
that you don't like. Yes, no, trust me, I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't like that someone else wants to live life with a different set of morals than you, and you want to hold them to your set of morals.
It always gets hairy when it's about death, though.
Yes,
because then at that point it's like when you don't want to trivialize their point by saying because they don't like, because they're like, no, I don't like murder.
Yes.
Do you like murder? Like, because then we're having a different, and that's the discussion. The discussion is there are people that are like, you're stopping life from happening, like you are murdering.
Well, there's also.
I know.
There's no room for science either. It's just murder because you want to call it murder, but then there's some other scientific evidence that you also want to allow to come into place. It's like the conversation usually seems very one-sided, and it's not to say that pro-life people. What is it? Pro-life. What's the other one?
Anti-abortion.
Whatever. Both sides, whatever they're called on each side. I think sometimes there's also no room.
Pro-choice, pro-life.
Pro-choice, pro-life. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. Yeah, I just think sometimes it's a bit too constricted on one side, a bit more constricted than the other. It's not to say that the other side is just very open and welcoming and understanding either. But
I do not have the answers to any of these things. But what I do know is that people just got to have public discord. People just got to have these conversations so we can look at everyone having conversations and be like, what are they saying? Like, what am I saying really? Like, because I get it. Like if you truly felt like if it was equivalent to murder, like if it was equivalent to you walking down the street, if this is how it felt, I'm not saying this is what it is, but if you were walking down the street and you saw someone walk up to someone and slit their throat and keep walking, like if abortion felt like that to you, do you know how maddening it must be to have so many people be pro-choice? You must feel like you're living in a godforsaken land. Like what is happening? Why do all these people why are they okay with killing babies? Like that would be what's running through their mind. Like I don't understand the world I'm living in. This is terrible.
That's why I say what I say every time, psychedelics, man. I was going to say it long ago, but I thought that there would be a better place for me to throw it in, but just psychedelics because
all of our conversations end up as psychedelics.
Well, it's because what better aid than something that helps you open up your heart and to mind to the fact that it's we're too stupid and too small to understand what's going on, and it's not just black and white and right.
I think that we've had so many great experiences with psychedelics that you forget of the damnation, the eternal damnation that some people may go through doing psychedelics.
Yeah, but I really think that the damnation comes from the fact that you are not allowing a space for ugly, negative, uncomfortable things to exist.
Yeah, but regardless of the reason, like if they go through it, if it happens to them and they didn't do it the way that you feel like is most, beneficial for them, then they're just afraid. Now they're just scared and afraid because they've had the opposite reaction to what you had. You came out blissful. You felt like you understood so much more. You felt like you had a different capacity for love and understanding than you had before. So imagine the opposite. But I've also had
dark trips.
But imagine the opposite of how we just described you feeling. Like how good you felt, how liberated you felt. Just imagine what the opposite must feel like.
Well, I have felt some of the opposite, and I started freaking the fuck out on that big ass ottoman that we had, and I wrapped myself in a blanket, and I welcomed that shit into my soul. I opened up the door and I said, "Come in and take me." And then I flew a butterfly. But I understand.
Okay. I guess this is the question: if 50 people came to you and was talking to you about their problems, and they were all roughly the same thing, would you just tell all 50 people do psychedelics?
No, I would tell all of them. I would have. I mean, first of all, I'm not a professional, so let's start there.
Right.
But if for some reason I was some sort of professional with credentials and a bit more wherewithal about what it is that I was telling people to do. It wouldn't just be, you have some problems, do psychedelics. Like there would have to be a screening in a mental.
But you would start with getting them ready to go down the road of taking psychedelics.
Well, no, we would have to have a few conversations, if not a lot, to figure out like what is going on.
Right.
What are your goals? What is your medication history like? What is your emotional disease history like? Like, what are we working with here? And what are we trying to do? It's not just you going through a rough patch. Take penis envy.
Well, if we're talking about these types of people that got us to this conversation, where you're just like psychedelics, like because that's how this started. Because I'm saying whatever it is I'm saying, and you're just like psychedelics.
I think that it would be very beneficial if a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds came together in a nice little healthy room with a bunch of cool shamans and was like, all right, guys, I know that y'all hate each other. I know that you disagree. Let's take a 0.3 microdose of penis envy in this perfectly formulated capsule by promo code DC. And like, let's just talk about it. I promise you that would be a really good outcome.
So you do believe that it's like a net positive if done in the right facilities? Because the way that you
the setting matters.
Yeah, of course.
What was his name? I forgot that figured out setting for LSD.
I don't know.
Starts with an A, Albert something, or Helpert, something like that. But I think that's important. But it just psychedelics, like you can't fight an open heart to yourself in everything, in everyone around you. Like, you just connect with everything so deeply, and you're like, oh, wow, like, I get it. I understand. Like, oh, like, all right, like, I'm not shit. You're not shit. We don't really know much, but, like, we're trying our best. Like, all right, like.
Yeah,
you just get broken down in a certain type of way that makes you feel so connected. I tell you, it's, like, the best type of being broken down and tell, like, it's, like, the opposite of depression, but you also feel some of the same things that you feel when you're depressed, but just in a reinforcing and enlightening way. It's like, oh, it
chills you out.
Just chill out because you got control of almost nothing here. So ride the wave, get some comfy shoes, and just chill out, bro, because you're not in control of much here. So,
oh man,
yeah, I can feel it in my heart right now. It's like I activated some residue of psilocybin. I'm getting all chucked up about it.
You know, it's funny because there is there are a lot of really cool conversations you can have with people about so many different things.
Yeah, but
there's this just one place you can't take conversation unless they've done that thing. And I guess it's I've said this to other people and they're just like, well, yeah, I mean, it's just like anything. Like, you don't know what it's like to go swimming if you don't swim. And I'm like,
sure.
Yeah.
There's some comparison there.
I'm like, there's definitely a comparison. I was thinking about that as I was running the other day. I was just like cutting through the air out on that field. When I was doing all the running, and I was running. I was running fast because I was doing like sprints, and then I'd do like a little jog, and then I'd sprint, and then I'd do a jog, and I'd sprint. And every time I would sprint, I would cut through the air. Like I was running, and I could feel the air on both sides of me, and I'm just like aerodynamic, just moving in between the wind. I
can just see you.
And I'm like, this is a very singular experience. Like, usually, to feel something like this, you have to be in a car with the windows down, or you have to be on a motorcycle. You have to be on something that's moving you fast, right? But then in that case, you're on or inside of something. But being the thing itself that propels you at a fast rate or fast enough rate to just like cut through wind and just feel wind blowing on you because of how fast you're running. I'm like, this isn't like anything else.
So like A-Train.
I'm like, I'm like, don't call me A-Train. But it's like,
yeah, that's funny.
But it's a very, very singular thing. And like, if you haven't done that, what was that stat? Like, if you're over the age of 35, you'll probably never sprint again in your life.
That's crazy.
It's wild, but it's like so many people lose what that feeling is like to just be able to get up and run. just run really fast and not tip over and fall and hit your face on the pavement.
That's crazy because I'm not familiar with that too much either.
That's what I'm saying. It's such a wild feeling. It's so wild. It's like, oh shit, like I can just go fast alone. Yeah. Like I don't have to get in anything. I can just go fast right now. Like it's very wild. Very, very wild thing. So I understand that. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't understand the comparison of doing anything and it not being.
But we're talking about psychic.
You're talking about like going to a different realm. Like taking your existence to a different existential plane.
It's like you exist, or you just exist somewhere else.
It's a different existential plane.
That's how I felt it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you're in the same space as someone else, but you're also in the same space. It's like being a halfway ghost.
Yeah, it's like you leave your body.
Yeah, it's like you're there with everyone else, but you're also not dipping into this other realm that they can't see into at the same exact time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very, very wild. And it's truly, also, but everyone also, I don't know, because I've known so many people to do it, and I've seen so many different ways of reacting to it, and everyone doesn't just come away with some beautiful, blissful revelation about how they haven't been grateful for what life is. When I was talking to Bella a couple of years now at least, on the pod, there was something I had said to her about how people are virtually asleep a lot of times, like sleepwalking, and how that to someone may seem kind of wild to say, right? Because it's like, what do you mean? Like now you're taking it too far, right? Like, what do you mean sleepwalking? If someone was sleepwalking, right? We've known people to be either just regular sleepwalking. They're sleeping, they get up and they start walking and doing shit. They start cooking meals. They'll have a conversation with you.
Killed people still.
Yeah, people do all sorts of stuff. People have been heavily intoxicated on drugs or alcohol and are doing things. They can state their first, last name, their social security number. They can get on planes. They can go play. They can do all sorts of stuff. And then when they wake up, whenever they wake up after that crash, they have no recollection of any fucking thing that happened whatsoever. You can't tell you a lick of it. So we know that people can be at a very high level of unconsciousness as they're moving around, seemingly conscious.
Conscious, right.
But it would be difficult to tell the person that's sleepwalking that they're sleepwalking.
For sure.
Right? They're not going to fucking believe. Shut the fuck up. They're going to, if they're that, coherent, if they're that responsive, they're going to be like, man, they're not just going to awake and be like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Let me actually wake up now. Right? They're sleepwalking. You can't stop that. Okay? I think that's easily correlative to the people I'm speaking about that I believe to be sleepwalking on the planet, but you can't tell them they're sleepwalking because what good would that do to someone that's sleepwalking? Like they have not awoken and arisen to life, actually being an active participant in what is happening around them. Just not seeing things from this very, very narrow bandwidth, which is just them and their life, but life expands to everything. Everything is coexisting, co-inhabiting, and collaborating at all points in time. And like just waking up to what life is and not how you make it up in your mind.
Right.
Right. Just being able to see things and make no judgment call on it and then make a judgment call on it. Being able to look at something and be like, that's a painting. And then say, I don't like that painting afterwards. But then being able to take a step back and then still say, but it's just a painting. My value on that thing doesn't change what it is at all. Right. Like just being able to flow between those things and understanding that your perspective is simply your perspective. It does not make the world. It's not just reality. It's not. Like that's very important to be able to do. But I know so many people that have done psychedelics so many times, more times than I have, and like they have not gotten to that point. It just their brain does not click that this is the thing. So they're sleepwalking, and it's like that's totally okay.
Also that too, yeah.
Because the way that the world is built, the way things are made, is not for everybody to just be awake. It's not. That's not the way things are made. You shouldn't expect that from people. So yeah, you just got some people sleepwalking.
It's life.
Going through the motions. You know?
It sure does look like it sometimes, but definitely just the judgment, I keep it to myself. Because everyone's just trying.
You ready to go do some studying and stuff?
Yeah,
I think it's about that time.
Is nice.
This was a nice little quick little something.
I wonder how long.
You want to tell people
what?
It's our anniversary.
Well, now that he said it,
just went and had dinner at our favorite little spot.
So I would like to say this. I would like to say that if you've made it this far, that's very cool of you. Listening to Earl and I talk about whatever it is that we talked about. If you are from the Leesburg area, just please go to Tuscarora Mill, Tuskies as I call it, or Tuscarora with an English accent. It's just worth it. It's a nice environment. No screaming children. Great food. Great service. It's a bit pricey, but you got it. Highly recommend the banana toffee cheesecake. It is a special. I had it today. Best thing I've ever had in my whole life. And yes, it is Earl and I's 4-year anniversary. Happy anniversary to us.
Alrighty.
All right.
I love
Thanks
you.
For hanging
love
out.
everyone. Thank you very much for coming to hear us talk for a little bit. Peace.